Every man and woman walks with an invisible companion, a power so mighty and yet so gentle that a single word, a single thought of faith, can set it in motion. Yet so many stumble in the darkness, believing themselves abandoned, left to struggle with burdens they were never meant to carry alone. They plead, they beg, and still the heavens seem silent. But the truth is this: the divine never withholds. The supply is ever present, the help ever near, waiting only for the key that unlocks it. That key is alignment, spoken with boldness, clothed in certainty, and free from the trembling garments of fear. To force God to help you is not to wrestle with a reluctant giver, but to stand in the authority that is already yours. The laws of spirit are precise, unchanging, eternal. Just as the law of gravity pulls an apple to the earth, so the law of faith draws your good from the unseen into the seen. The difficulty lies not in the giver, but in the receiver. The current of divine power is like electricity. It does not decide who shall use it. It simply flows where the connection is complete. When you command in faith, when you speak as though the thing were already done, you complete the circuit. Help rushes in, not because God was persuaded, but because you stepped into the vibration where the miracle already existed. Every thought, every word you release is a seed. Speak doubt, and you plant weeds that choke the garden. Speak faith, and the harvest is sure. To force is not to strain, not to beg, but to declare with calm assurance, it is mine. It comes to me by right of consciousness. No obstacle can stand against the law of spirit. Such words carry authority, and authority is irresistible to the unseen forces that govern life. They move, they rearrange, they open doors and dissolve barriers, for the law responds unfailingly to the command of belief. Consider how a child calls upon its parent, without hesitation, without question. The child does not wonder if the parent is willing, it assumes help is certain. That simple confidence is the force that draws supply. So it must be with you. Your part is not to question how or when, but to claim and to know. The moment you stand unwavering, the moment you release all fear and replace it with certainty, you compel the unseen to take form. God is not persuaded by your worry, but by your word of authority. Heaven moves at the sound of conviction. When the shadows press close, when the way seems blocked, rise in the strength of your inner command. Say to yourself, I am backed by the infinite. I walk with the power that parts seas, that stills storms, that brings water from the rock. Nothing is too great, nothing too small. Help is here now. And as you speak, believe it already done. This is the secret of force, not pressure, not pleading, but the unshakable decree of a soul that knows its oneness with the source of all. Faith spoken with authority compels divine response. The whole mystery of life rests upon this one truth, and yet countless souls go through their days never grasping it. They pray timidly, half in fear, half in hope, as though the infinite were reluctant, as though the giver must be coaxed and convinced. But the law of spirit does not respond to pleading. It responds to command. The spoken word charged with faith becomes a decree. It is not a suggestion, not a timid request, but an assertion of the reality already existing in the unseen. To speak with authority is to align oneself with the certainty that the power backing all creation is now backing you, and once aligned, that power cannot resist. It moves, it acts, it rushes forward to manifest that which has been declared. When one speaks with authority, there is no trembling in the voice, no hidden shadow of doubt. The words are clothed in assurance. And assurance carries a vibration that sets in motion the machinery of the universe. The command is not born of arrogance, but of knowing. It is the recognition that man is a channel of the divine, and as such he inherits the authority of the source itself. Just as a king's decree carries weight not because of the man, but because of the throne behind him, so the decree of faith carries weight because the infinite stands behind it. To command in faith is to speak as one vested with authority, not because of personal strength, but because of divine backing. Faith spoken with authority is not loud, nor is it dramatic. It may be whispered, yet it shakes mountains. It may be uttered in silence, yet it reverberates through the invisible. Authority is not in the volume of the voice, but in the certainty of the word. The universe does not measure sound but belief. When one says, "This is mine, now, by right of divine law," and speaks it as though it were undeniable, the law responds as surely as a shadow follows light. The response may come through people, through circumstances, through sudden openings and unexpected channels. But it must come, for the command once released has set the unseen into motion. The weakness of many lies in double-mindedness. They speak faith one moment and cancel it with fear the next. They declare healing but speak sickness. They affirm abundance but confess lack. They call for joy but dwell in sorrow. Such divided words carry no authority, for authority demands unity. When the tongue and the heart move together in one direction, the decree is strong. When the heart wavers, the word falls powerless. Authority is single-mindedness, an unwavering stand, a declaration that does not retreat. Faith spoken with authority never looks back to see if it is working. It knows the moment the word was spoken, the law was set in motion. Consider the power of the command given by a captain to his soldiers. The troops do not pause to question whether he truly means it, whether he has doubts in his private heart. The command itself is enough to move them into action. So it is with spirit. The law does not pause to weigh your worthiness, nor does it ask if you are deserving. It moves upon the decree of faith. For faith is the authority that activates the law. The moment the word of command is released, the invisible forces move into their appointed task. The supply begins its journey, the healing starts its work, the obstacle dissolves before it even appears. To speak in authority is to see with inner eyes. You do not wait for evidence before you declare. You declare because the evidence exists in the invisible. The visible world is but an echo, a delayed reflection of the unseen. If you speak only when you see, your words carry no power, for they merely echo what already is. Authority speaks before the manifestation, and that is what compels it to appear. Authority declares it is done, while others still cry, "Will it be?" Authority stands on the unseen foundation and calls it into visibility. This power of authoritative faith is not reserved for a chosen few. It belongs to every soul who dares to believe. Every individual carries within the spark of the divine, and with it, the right to command the law. But few use this gift, for they shrink in fear, thinking themselves too small, too unworthy, too uncertain. Yet authority does not rest on worthiness. It rests on alignment. When you align your thought and word with the certainty of Spirit's abundance, you are speaking not as a beggar, but as an heir. An heir does not beg for inheritance, he claims it. Faith spoken with authority is the claim of an heir, the voice of one who knows what is already his by right. Every story of deliverance, every miracle, every sudden breakthrough, has behind it a word of authority. The healing touch, the command to the storm, the decree to the mountain. These were not requests. They were statements. The authority was absolute, because the faith was absolute. If the storm obeyed a command then, it obeys now. If the mountain moved then, it moves now. The law has not weakened, it is only the faith of men that has faltered. Yet the moment a soul rises again to speak with conviction, the law springs into action as though awakened from sleep, though in truth it never slumbers. Faith spoken with authority also carries the element of joy. It does not strain, it does not labor, it does not wrestle in desperation. It is light, buoyant, assured. It is the word spoken with the smile of one who knows the banquet is already prepared, the doors already opened, the supply already flowing. Joy is the seal of authority, for joy signals certainty. Fear and heaviness reveal doubt, but joy reveals knowledge. When the word is released in joy, it vibrates at the level of completion, and completion cannot resist responding. Faith spoken with authority compels divine response because it resonates with the very language of creation. The universe itself was spoken into being, not suggested into being, not begged into being, but commanded. The creative word carries the essence of divine authority, and when man dares to echo that authority, he joins in the rhythm of creation itself. His word becomes creative, his decree becomes law. His faith becomes the channel through which the unseen flows into the seen. To speak in authority, therefore, is not an act of presumption, but of alignment with the very principle that set the stars in their courses and the seas in their bounds. The law of spirit operates like electricity. Connection completes the circuit. Imagine electricity flowing through wires, unseen, silent, yet ready to light a city, to move a train, to heat a home. Electricity does not ask who deserves it, nor does it withhold its force for one and grant it to another. It simply waits for the circuit to be completed. When the switch is turned, the current flows. When the wire is broken, the light goes out. Spirit works in the same unfailing way. The infinite power is always present, always flowing, always ready to manifest. The question is not whether the power is available, but whether the connection is complete. Many stand in darkness, crying out for light, yet never reach for the switch. They beg for power, yet their words of fear and doubt break the wire. They pray, but their prayers are filled with uncertainty, and uncertainty cuts the current. The law of spirit cannot be bribed, cannot be moved by desperation, cannot be manipulated by tears. It responds only to connection. The moment faith and word align, the circuit is closed, and the power rushes forth without resistance. It is not personal, it is not partial, it is principle. Just as a lamp lights for anyone who plugs it into the outlet, the law of spirit responds to anyone who completes the connection of belief. Connection is faith joined with spoken authority. Belief alone is like a wire that never touches the source. Words without belief are like switches that lead to nothing. But when faith and word come together, the circuit is made whole. The unseen force leaps into activity, and manifestation follows. The power does not struggle, it flows effortlessly. The law does not hesitate, it obeys instantly. The flow is as certain as the rising of the sun. The only task of man is to close the circuit, and the moment he does, the power answers. Think of a city where electricity runs in hidden wires beneath the streets. The current is there, abundant and ready, yet houses remain dark until someone connects to it. Spirit is the same. The abundance is unlimited, the supply is infinite, but it waits for the channel of faith. Some believe they must strive, labor, or plead to make the power flow, but striving is not the answer. The answer is simple connection. The act of saying with assurance, "It is mine now, by right of divine law," is the turning of the switch. That word, spoken in certainty, joins the soul to the infinite, and the circuit is complete. Where there is fear, the wire is frayed. Where there is doubt, the line is broken. Where there is worry, the switch is left half open, and the light flickers. This is why many live in uncertainty. They connect and disconnect, never holding steady in their faith. The power cannot flow steadily through a broken circuit. But when faith is constant and words are firm, the connection holds, and the power pours forth without ceasing. The one who learns to keep the circuit closed, by unwavering faith and unshaken word, becomes a magnet for supply, a vessel through which spirit manifests continually. The law of spirit is as impersonal as the law of electricity. Electricity does not care who flips the switch, it flows regardless of station or worthiness. Spirit does not choose favorites, nor does it measure who is most deserving. It operates for whoever fulfills the condition of connection. Some may look upon another's blessings and believe that person is specially chosen. But the truth is simpler: they have completed the circuit. They have believed, they have spoken, they have aligned, and therefore the power flows. The same current is available to all. There is great freedom in this understanding, for it removes the burden of striving to win favor from the divine. The infinite is not withholding, nor is it waiting to be persuaded. The flow of spirit is constant, as the current in the wire is constant. All that is needed is the act of connection. The command of faith is the hand upon the switch. The words of conviction are the wires drawn together. The moment the connection is made, the manifestation appears, not because God has changed his mind, but because the law has obeyed the circuit. Consider also that electricity can be dangerous if misused. A loose wire, a broken connection, a reckless hand may cause sparks and fire. So it is with spirit. Words of fear, anger, and negativity also complete circuits, but they draw destructive currents. The law does not discriminate between faith in good or faith in evil, it simply flows where it is directed. A person who continually speaks failure is as connected to failure as one who speaks abundance is connected to supply. The power magnifies whatever current is sent through the wire. Therefore, one must be careful with words, for words are switches that direct the flow. Speak lack, and lack increases. Speak health, and health strengthens. The current is ever willing, but the choice of connection lies with the individual. Just as electricity powers countless inventions, from lights to motors to machines, spirit manifests in countless forms. The same power that heals a body can supply a fortune. The same current that brings peace can open doors of opportunity. Spirit is one. But its manifestations are many, and it takes shape according to the mold of belief. The mold is cast by thought and word. A small mold creates a small manifestation, a great mold creates a great one. The power is limitless, but it can only pour into the vessel provided. To expand faith is to widen the vessel, to enlarge the circuit, to allow greater flow. This is why authority in faith is vital. A timid word opens only a trickle, but a bold decree opens the floodgates. Authority is the full connection, the complete circuit. It leaves no gaps, no breaks, no hesitation. It says with firmness, "It is done, it is mine, it comes by law," and such a word cannot be denied. The power does not delay. It flows at once, for the law is instant in its operation. What seems to take time in the visible world is already completed in the invisible. The circuit is closed, and the current is moving, even before the light appears to the eyes. To live in continual connection is the secret of unbroken supply. Just as a lamp shines as long as it remains plugged into the current, so the life of a man shines as long as he remains connected by faith and word. He does not stumble in and out of darkness, for his connection is steady. He speaks in confidence, he believes without wavering, and his every need is answered without strain. The power does not weaken, it does not fail, it does not tire. The only question is whether the circuit remains whole. Words are seeds, doubt plants weeds, faith plants harvests. Every thought, every utterance, every whispered phrase holds within it a power far greater than it appears. Words seem fleeting, light as air, gone as soon as they are spoken. Yet each one is a seed that falls into the fertile soil of the unseen. Once sown, it cannot be withdrawn. It lies there, alive with possibility, drawing substance from the invisible, pressing toward manifestation. What a man continually speaks, that he continually sows, and what he sows, he must surely reap. The soil of spirit makes no distinction between seeds. It does not choose whether to bring forth flowers or thorns. It simply produces after its kind. If doubt is spoken, doubt is planted. If fear is repeated, fear takes root. If complaint fills the air, complaint multiplies. These are weeds, springing up swiftly, choking out the good, covering the field with barrenness. Yet the same tongue that scatters weeds may scatter seeds of faith. A single word of unwavering conviction, released into the invisible, carries within it the pattern of abundance, of healing, of deliverance. It too takes root, unseen at first, but quietly drawing nourishment, growing, strengthening, until the harvest stands before the eyes. The process is inevitable, for spirit never returns void. Every word returns in form. Many wonder why their lives are filled with lack, with struggle, with sorrow. They look for causes in circumstance, in other people, in fate. Yet if they would listen to their own words, they would find the answer. The tongue has been scattering weeds day after day, season after season. I never have enough. Nothing ever works out for me. I am always sick. Such phrases seem harmless, mere expressions of feeling, but they are seeds, and seeds cannot help but grow. The soil does not ask if you meant them seriously, it only brings them to life. What is spoken in jest or in despair is still planted, and the field responds with weeds that multiply quickly. But faith speaks otherwise. Faith does not deny the appearance of lack, yet it sows abundance. Faith does not tremble at the shadow of illness, yet it sows health. Faith looks at the field and sees it barren, yet scatters seeds of plenty, knowing the unseen harvest already exists in the storehouse of spirit. My supply is unlimited. Health flows through every part of my being. Everything I desire by divine right comes to me in perfect ways. These words, spoken again and again with conviction, are living seeds. They press through the soil of the invisible, and at their appointed time, they appear in the visible. The greatest mistake many make is digging up the seeds they have planted by speaking contrary words. One day they sow faith, the next day they sow doubt. They plant good seed, then trample it underfoot with weeds. The soil cannot bring forth a pure harvest from a mixed field. The weeds overtake the flowers unless one is vigilant. A farmer does not plant wheat one day and pull it up the next to see if it is growing. He plants and waits, trusting the process. So must faith be. Speak the word, plant the seed, and do not uproot it with doubt. Guard the tongue, for the tongue is the sour, and every word matters. Words are not idle sounds, they are creative forces. They vibrate in the unseen, shaping substance, calling forth after their kind. Even the casual expressions people throw away lightly carry weight. To speak continually of fear of loss, of misfortune, is to give the soil of spirit instructions to create more of the same. To speak continually of good, of strength, of harmony, is to direct the soil to bring forth blessing. There is no neutrality in words. Every utterance is a seed, and the harvest is sure. The power of words lies not only in their sound, but in the belief that charges them. A word of faith spoken with authority carries a seed rich with life. A word of doubt muttered in weakness still carries enough vitality to root itself. The soil receives them equally, but the quality of the seed determines the harvest. Therefore, to cultivate a field of abundance, one must discipline the tongue, train it to scatter only words of faith, and refuse to give voice to weeds. Silence is better than complaint, for silence plants nothing, while complaint plants thorns. When in doubt, speak nothing until the word of faith rises, for a guarded tongue protects the harvest. Consider a garden left untended. Weeds grow without effort, choking out the fruit. The gardener who desires a rich crop must labor to plant, to water, to protect, to weed diligently. The same is true of the inner field. Negative words spring up easily, for the mind is quick to repeat them. But faith requires attention, intention, discipline. To fill the field with flowers, one must choose consciously what words are spoken. It is the daily scattering of faith, seeds that ensures a season of plenty. The careless sower lives in a thicket of weeds, while the mindful sower reaps a harvest of beauty. Words also shape the unseen atmosphere around the one who speaks them. A person who continually utters words of doubt surrounds himself with a cloud of heaviness. Others feel it when they enter the room, though they may not know why. The air is thick with weeds, and the energy draws more of the same. By contrast, one who continually speaks faith creates an atmosphere charged with life. People feel lifted in his presence, opportunities flow toward him. Doors open without effort. The words he has sown have built an invisible field that magnetizes good. The harvest is not only personal but extends outward, touching all who come near. Every great achievement, every miracle, every answered prayer has been born from a seed of the word. A decree spoken in conviction is a seed that cannot die. Though it may lie hidden for a season, though appearances seem to contradict it, it continues to live beneath the surface, drawing substance from the invisible until the time of its unfolding. This is why one must never despise small beginnings. A seed is small, yet within it lies the whole harvest. A word may seem insignificant when first spoken, but within it lies the entire manifestation. To speak faith is to sow a future. Thus the power of the tongue is the power of creation itself. The field does not argue, it does not delay, it does not question. It simply produces what is planted. To understand this is to understand why life takes the shape it does, and why words must be guarded with vigilance. If weeds appear, it is because they were sown. If flowers bloom, it is because seeds of faith were scattered. The field is faithful to its task. The harvest always reflects the seed. True force is calm assurance, not pleading or pressure. The mind of man often imagines that to obtain from the infinite he must strive, struggle, or persuade. He believes that intensity of emotion or repetition of request will move the heavens in his favor. Yet the law of spirit is not swayed by struggle. It yields only to certainty. Calm assurance carries the true note of authority, and authority compels manifestation. The pleading voice betrays doubt. The pressured demand reveals fear, but the quiet, steady decree of assurance rings with the vibration of truth, and truth cannot be denied. When one is calm, one is centered. The center is the place of power. To plead is to wander from the center, to confess separation from the source, to announce by word and tone that help is distant and uncertain. But calm assurance rests in unity with the source, declaring that the thing sought is already secured in the unseen. The calm decree does not waver, it does not rush, it does not seek to convince. It simply states, and because it is spoken from the ground of faith, it stands. The invisible responds not to strain but to certainty, not to desperation but to alignment. Consider the difference between a child who begs and a child who claims his rightful inheritance. The beggar trembles, fearing refusal, uncertain of outcome. His voice rises and falls with anxiety, his heart heavy with the thought of lack. Yet the heir speaks calmly, with no need for persuasion, because he knows it belongs to him by right. That is the tone of true force. It is not loud, it is not frantic, it is not emotional display. It is steady, assured, unhurried, yet irresistible. The heavens bend to it, because it carries the authority of unity with the infinite. Many imagine that long prayers, repeated phrases, and desperate cries will break through the silence of spirit. But length and noise are not the measure of power. One word, spoken in assurance, holds more weight than 1,000 uttered in fear. When the tone of calm authority is present, even a whisper shakes the unseen. The command need not be repeated endlessly, for repetition often hides unbelief. Once is enough if it is spoken from certainty. The seed planted does not grow faster by constant digging, it grows by being left in the soil. So it is with words of faith spoken in assurance. They must be released and trusted, not strained and pulled. True force flows from the recognition that spirit has already completed the work. The good desired exists now in the invisible, waiting only for its appointed hour to appear. Pleading suggests that the good is absent, that it must be created anew, that it may or may not come. Pressure carries the vibration of impatience, which is born of doubt. Calm assurance, on the other hand, knows that the harvest is secure, that the supply is certain, that the outcome is inevitable. It rests in that knowledge, and because it rests, the law moves without obstruction. The atmosphere of calm is itself magnetic. When one speaks in assurance, others feel it. There is a stillness, a weight, a quiet confidence that draws results. Even nature responds. The storm quiets at a word spoken in calm authority. The troubled situation resolves at the decree of steady faith. Pressure agitates the atmosphere, scattering energy in all directions, while calm gathers it into one focused stream. The law of spirit follows the path of least resistance, and calm assurance is that path. Pleading builds resistance, assurance clears it. The great examples of authority in history show this truth. Mountains were not moved by desperate cries, but by firm decrees. Healings did not come from pressure, but from a simple statement of completion. The calm word carried the full power of the infinite, because it was spoken in alignment with it. To stand in that calm is to stand as one with the source, and the source does not strive, it simply creates. The universe was not shouted into being, it was spoken. Quiet words carried infinite force because they were clothed in assurance. Calm assurance also brings clarity. When the mind is frantic, rushing, pressuring, it cannot hear the still voice of guidance. Opportunities may pass unseen, doors may stand open yet be overlooked, because the eyes are clouded by fear. But the calm mind perceives clearly. It knows when to act, when to wait, when to move forward. Assurance creates inner stillness, and in stillness guidance is heard. The right word, the right step, the right decision rises naturally, without strain. Pressure blinds, calm opens, pleading confuses, assurance clarifies. True force is not the effort of the outer self, but the alignment of the inner with the divine. To plead is to act as though separated, but assurance knows union. In union, there is no question of whether the infinite will respond, for response is automatic. Just as the law of gravity does not need persuasion to act, the law of spirit does not require begging. It acts instantly, unfailingly, upon the word of faith. Calm assurance speaks that word and leaves it, knowing the law has already obeyed. This assurance is not passive. It is active in its certainty, vibrant in its quietness, filled with life in its stillness. It is not indifference, for indifference has no creative power. Assurance is engaged, but without strain. It is steady focus without struggle, a channel through which the infinite flows unhindered. It is the power of the river that moves mountains, not by violence, but by constancy. It is the authority of the sun that warms the earth, not by pressure, but by shining. Assurance carries that same nature, steady, quiet, irresistible. The one who masters calm assurance becomes a true commander of circumstances. While others wear themselves with worry and effort, he speaks a word and holds his peace, knowing it is done. While others try to push doors open, he walks calmly until the door swings wide before him. His force is not in the energy of struggle, but in the stillness of certainty. This stillness is his fortress, his atmosphere, his magnet. It gathers the unseen forces of spirit and directs them with precision. The outer world bends because the inner world stands firm. When one worries, one gives energy to the very shadow one wishes to escape. Worry paints pictures of loss, of lack, of sickness, and these pictures impress themselves upon the creative substance of spirit. The soil accepts them as seeds and begins to bring them forth. For it does not discriminate between faith and fear. Both are forms of belief, and both bear fruit after their kind. This is why many who worry constantly find their fears realized, for worry is a negative certainty, a conviction that the undesirable must surely come. Spirit answers conviction, whether for good or for ill. Certainty, however, plants a different seed. It speaks in alignment with the infinite, affirming that what is desired already exists in the unseen, waiting to appear. Certainty does not ask when or how, for it knows the process is already complete. It does not waver with appearances, for appearances are but shadows, delayed reflections of the invisible reality. Certainty sees beyond the surface into the realm where all things are finished. It speaks from that place. And because it speaks from completion, the law brings completion into the visible. Think of a builder who lays the foundation of a house. He is not anxious about whether the walls will rise, for he has the plan and the materials at hand. He knows the end from the beginning. In the same way, certainty rests in the unseen plan, the divine blueprint already established. Worry, on the other hand, is like a builder who doubts the foundation, who questions every brick, who fears collapse at every step. Such a builder never finishes his work, for his fear paralyzes him. Certainty builds steadily, and the house stands. Certainty is not arrogance. It does not boast, it does not force others to agree. It is quiet and inward, a steady flame that cannot be extinguished. It is the confidence of alignment with law. Just as one who steps into a boat trusts that the river will carry him, so one who speaks in certainty trusts the flow of spirit. The river does not need to be persuaded, it flows of its own accord. The law does not need to be begged, it operates without fail. Certainty simply places itself in harmony with that flow, and manifestation follows as naturally as the sunrise. Worry scatters the mind. It imagines 1,000 outcomes, none of them desired. It ties energy into knots, leaving the soul weary and the body heavy. Certainty gathers energy. It focuses thought in one direction, making it sharp, powerful, irresistible. A single arrow of certainty reaches the target, while a cloud of worries drifts aimlessly and never lands. This is why certainty creates results with less effort. It channels the full current of spirit through a single conviction, while worry diffuses it in every direction. Certainty also creates an atmosphere that others can feel. A worried person spreads heaviness, their words and presence radiate unease. But one who stands in certainty carries peace. Their calmness lifts others, Their assurance inspires faith, their words carry weight. Opportunities are drawn to them, doors open, circumstances align, because the vibration of certainty attracts order. Worry attracts confusion. Certainty attracts clarity. Worry repels good, certainty magnetizes it. To cultivate certainty, one must first master the inner word. The tongue often betrays the heart, speaking worry aloud and planting seeds of doubt. Discipline is needed, for each worried phrase released into the atmosphere strengthens the weeds of fear. Silence is better than worry spoken. And beyond silence, affirmations of certainty must be planted, words that declare the unseen as already visible, words that affirm the supply as already present, words that speak healing as already accomplished. These words, repeated with conviction, reshape the inner field until certainty becomes natural. Certainty is strengthened by remembrance. To look back upon past deliverances, upon former answers, is to remind the heart that spirit has never failed. Each remembrance builds another stone in the foundation of confidence. Worry forgets, but certainty remembers. Worry magnifies what is lacking, but certainty magnifies what has been given. The one who trains the mind to remember the good strengthens the habit of faith, and certainty grows until it becomes the dominant tone of the soul. There is a rhythm to certainty. It does not rush. It does not panic. It knows that everything comes in its appointed season. The farmer does not worry when the seed lies unseen in the ground. He knows the process is working. Certainty walks with that same rhythm. It speaks, it sows, and then it rests, knowing the soil of spirit is faithful. Worry digs up the seed to check its progress, disturbing the process. Certainty trusts the unseen and waits with peace until the harvest rises. When appearances seem most contrary, when the storm rages, when the field looks barren, that is the very moment certainty must be held fast. Worry collapses under pressure, but certainty grows stronger. It says, "Though I do not yet see it, it is already done." It holds to the invisible reality until the visible aligns with it. This steadfastness is the true test of faith. The one who clings to certainty in the dark proves himself ready for the light. Certainty carries creative authority. It is not passive. It commands the unseen to take form. Worry pleads, but certainty decrees. Worry asks whether, but certainty says it is. This tone of finality is what the law of spirit answers. The decree spoken in certainty sets the invisible in motion, rearranging circumstances, drawing people, opening paths, dissolving obstacles. The decree spoken in worry carries no weight, for it vibrates with doubt, and the law is not compelled by doubt. This is why the calm statement of assurance has such power. It is not merely words, but words clothed in certainty. The vibration behind them is unshaken, and the unseen moves to match it. When certainty is established within, the outer world must conform. It has no choice, for the unseen always precedes the seen, and certainty anchors the unseen into form.